Hello to the besties, and welcome to a very exciting video where I am going to try and predict the books that are going to be nominated for the Goodreads Choice Awards. I always love to make videos about reacting to the Goodreads Choice Awards, but I've never attempted to predict which books are going to be nominated before. And if you were wondering, the Goodreads Choice Awards is something that happens annually, every single year, and the nominations get announced around November. They usually get announced on the second Tuesday in November. They initially always nominate 20 books, and then they go through a series of voting where they narrow it down to 10 books, I think, and then one winner is chosen every year. And usually the winner doesn't get announced until like December time, but because the nominations are going to be coming out next month, I thought now would be a really good time for me to try to predict what I think is going to get nominated. But I'm only going to be trying to predict the categories that I am the most familiar with. So in today's video, we're going to be trying to predict 4 of the Goodreads categories, and I'm going to predict which top 20 books I think are going to make it onto the list for horror, for mystery thriller, for romance, and for fiction. I also do have a few different sci-fi picks that I thought I would just share with you as like some books that I think could get nominated. But because I don't read a ton of sci-fi, I don't feel confident in like trying to guess all 20. But I do have a few that I've read this year that I think could be nominated, so we'll talk about those too. Some things to take note of, that these are definitely things that I was thinking about while I was making these predictions. The first thing is that Goodreads actually has this rule where any book that has lower than a 3.5 average rating on Goodreads is not eligible to be nominated. So that's definitely something that I'm thinking about when I'm like looking at which books I'm going to be picking for these categories, because you know, some of my favorite books of the year, like Julie Chan is Dead, is not actually going to be eligible, I think, to be nominated because it has lower than a 3.5. So like, how devastating is that? I also think because, you know, like the new Riley Sager is actually lower than a 3.5 right now, like he's not going to be eligible to be nominated either. So these are definitely things that I'm like looking at when I'm thinking about which books are going to actually make it into the top 20. So the way that I'm like making my predictions is kind of by like looking at previous years, you know, Goodreads Choice Awards and trying to see what the common themes are. You know, like the fact that like Stephen King is like always nominated no matter what, and like how Emily Henry is always most likely to win romance, and just kind of like taking the data of like the previous awards. But then also I'm really paying attention to a lot of the like best-selling lists throughout the year and like which books have been the most popular, which books are gaining a lot of traction. I'm kind of paying attention to like not only the average rating, but like how much readers are actually reading it and seeing like how many ratings that book has overall, because I feel like that definitely plays a factor into whether or not the book's gonna get nominated. But then also seeing like throughout the year which books were book of the month picks, which books were aardvark book picks, which books were part of like book boxes and things like that, because I feel like those things definitely play a role in like how popular that book was throughout the year, if it was more easily accessible to readers from like a book subscription service of some kind. I also do think that Goodreads, they sometimes will like bamboozle me with like which genre the book should be fitting into. I think this happened like so many years before where like I think the book Hidden Pictures actually ended up winning the horror category, and I was like, that is a thriller. And like sometimes they will put books into the genres that like I don't think it fits into that genre, so like I'm gonna be doing my best here, but like there might be some thrillers that actually end up in the horror category, or like horror books that actually end up in the thriller genre, or even like sci-fi books that end up in like fiction. I don't know, I don't always understand Goodreads with like what books get put into which genres, so I'm gonna do my best to figure that out. And so in this video, I'm going to not only predict my top 20 and like what I think the top 20 books are going to be, but I'm also going to try and predict the winner. I mean, I'm going to be letting you know which book I think is most likely to win the category, but then I'm also going to be giving you which book I want to win the category, like which would be my number 1 pick. So yeah, we have a lot to get through. Let's jump right in. All right, so as you can see from the screen here, I do have a slot of about 20 different slots here that I need to fill out, but over on the side here, I think I have around like 30 books to try and fit into these slots, but I do have some that I feel very confident in choosing right away, because if you didn't see, recently Goodreads actually posted this like best horror of the last 10 years, and on that post they shared these 8 books as like the best horror that was published in 2025. So I feel like choosing these 8 books is almost like an easy bet, because I'm like, if Goodreads is already saying that these are the best horror books published in 2025, I feel like that's a safe bet that they're actually going to get nominated. So first we have Buffalo Hunter Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. I feel like this one is definitely a for sure nomination, just because I feel like they always end up choosing a new Stephen Graham Jones book, and because this one has been so popular this year, it's getting really high ratings. I definitely think this one's going to be on there. Same with the new Grady Hendrix. I feel like Grady Hendrix is one of those authors that is more often than not included on the list. Then we have, of course, Stephen King, which, spoiler alert, but I feel like it's gonna be a safe bet to assume that Stephen King's probably gonna win this category. That's just like my gut feeling, because Stephen King tends to always win the horror categories. Like, even when he's not writing horror, he tends to win the horror category. And then we have Bat Eater, which this is so exciting because this is definitely one of my favorite, you know, like 5 stars that I gave this year. Like, I loved this book, Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zhang. So I'm really excited. I think this one is definitely locked in, like definitely going to be nominated. And then we have The Lamb by Lucy Rose, which this is another one that I thought for sure would be nominated because this one actually came out in like, I think February this year. And it's just been so popular this year. Like, I'm just seeing it around everywhere. We also have Hunger Stone, which this one is exciting to see because this one is actually, you know, like a sapphic retelling of Carmilla. Oh no, sorry, I moved my entire board, I got scared. Okay, so we have Hunger Stone. I think that one's also going to be like a locked in nomination, which is great because I really enjoyed Hunger Stone. Then we have The Bewitching, which I think this is one that's always surprising to see because, I mean, Sylvia Moreno Garcia is like always going to be nominated in this category, even though I feel like her books kind of lean a little bit more fantasy sometimes, but I do think this one will get nominated in horror. I haven't actually read this one yet. And then we have Blood on Her Tongue, which this is another one that I have not yet read. I think this one's actually like a vampire horror. I can't remember if this one is sapphic as well, but I think this one's definitely going to be in the horror category. So I feel like because Goodreads kind of showed that these are like the best horror published in 2025 on that list, I feel like these ones are definitely going to be here. So now the challenge is trying to figure out which of these other books are going to make the list. So my first prediction for which of these that I think is going to make it is actually When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy, because I mean, come on now, this book is so popular, this book has been everywhere, and I want to say that Nat Cassidy's other books were also nominated at the Goodreads Choice Awards, but I actually have not confirmed that, so like I don't know if that's true or not, but I feel like this one has got to be here, and this one's definitely going to be one of my like front runners for which one should win. Okay, what else? I think the book We Live Here Now by Sarah Pinborough is a fair assumption that this one's going to make the list just because this book has been really popular and a lot of readers are really reading this one recently. So I feel like even though I didn't love this one, I do think it's going to make it onto the list. Same with this one, What Stalks the Deep by T. Kingfisher. I feel like this one is popular enough that it's going to make the list, even though I think this one is like the second or the third book in a series that I have not read. I'm really not familiar with this one, but I do think it'll be on here. I also think Victorian Psycho is popular enough that I do think it's going to make the top 20 this year. This one is a novella that I just think is really popular. I think another novella that could make this list is actually The Unworthy. I feel like this is a really popular, you know, like religious horror, and because it's from the same author as Tender as the Flesh, I just have a strong feeling that this one could also be in the top 20. Okay, what else? Ooh, okay. So I think the Chuck Wendig, I feel like this one is definitely going to make it here, even though I could see this one getting nominated in maybe like sci-fi, because I do think this book has some like sci-fi elements as well, but I think it's probably going to be nominated in horror. The one that I also think is The Possession of Alba Diaz. I think this one's a for sure nomination because I feel like Isabel Cañas, I feel like she's always nominated every single year, so I feel like that's also a safe bet to assume. All right, we're down to our last 5 spots. See, this is where it starts to get tricky. See, the hard thing too is that Joe Hill actually has like a new book that's coming out. I think this one doesn't come out until November. So I'm like, because it's coming out so late, I'm like, does that mean it's gonna get nominated? Or does that mean they're gonna pass on it? Like, I don't know. I don't feel confident putting that one down. Or even maybe The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, even though I've heard this one involves a little bit more fantasy as opposed to horror. But you know what? I'm going to put it on this list anyway. I think this one is definitely going to be nominated here. Oh, duh. I missed the Rachel Harrison is definitely going to be nominated in this category because I feel like Rachel Harrison is another one of those authors that she's almost always nominated in the horror category, so I think she will be here. I'm going to go ahead and guess the Chuck Tingle because I do think Chuck Tingle, I think this book is popular enough that it's going to be nominated. I feel like I should check though to see if Bury Your Gaze was nominated last year. Okay, here we have last year's. You see how Stephen King just like wins the horror category every time? Let's click on horror and see. Okay, yeah, Bury Your Gaze was nominated last year, like I thought it was. And also you can see Stephen Graham Jones was, T. Kingfisher almost won the category, so I feel like that's even another sure sign that that one's going to be nominated. The one that always throws me is that Simone St. James was included in this horror category because I'm like, this book was definitely a thriller. But see, yeah, we have Rachel Harrison, who's definitely going to be there again. Okay, good to know. We have another Stephen Graham Jones. I feel like Stephen Graham Jones, like almost everything he does is going to get nominated in here. Oh my god, that makes me wonder if that other Stephen Graham Jones, like that babysitter killer one, is that going to be nominated too? Oh my god, I didn't even think of that. Okay, so I'm really torn on if I should include this Killer on the Road book, but like, I'm going to say it's not going to be in the top 20. I don't know. I just have a feeling that it might not be. Okay, let's see what else our options are. I do think What Hunger has a really good shot at being in the top 20, and I hope that it is because this is one of the 5 stars that I had this year, and I would love it. I would love to see this in the top 20 because The Eyes Are the Best Part did so well last year. I feel like because this book is quite similar to that one, I can see it being in the top 20. And then I only have 1 spot left. Oh my god, so we could have The Starving Saints. Let me put some of my options over here for now. So we have that one. We have You Weren't Meant to Be Human as an option for something that could be. Let's see what else. We have The Tantrum. That one could be in there. I don't actually think The Tantrum is going to make the top 20. I feel like I can eliminate that one right off the bat. But we do have The Darcy Coates. This one could be in the top 20. Ooh, you know what might make it? This one, Eat the Ones You Love. Wait, does this one have like a low average rating though? Maybe it does. Oh my god, it's sitting at a 3.5 right now. So like that is just sitting at the qualifier. Like it could get knocked out before the awards are actually announced. What do I do? Okay, well let me put this one to the side for now and then let me check on these other ones because we also have Girl Dinner, which this one is not coming out until like the end of October, I think, but there's a high chance that this one could get nominated because it's Olivia Blake, who is a really popular author, and this one has a 3.7 right now. I don't know. We also do have Breathe In, Bleed Out, which I don't think that this one's going to make it into the list, but I do think this is like one of my favorite horror books, and like I would have liked to see this one make the list. I also like, I didn't even add on here, but like the book Coffin Moon was another one that I really loved, but like I don't think it's gonna make it into the top 20. Okay, let's see. I think we can eliminate Tantrum. I just don't see that one getting nominated. I feel like it's gonna be, out of these, I think it's gonna be between Girl Dinner, I think it might be between Eat the Ones You Love and then maybe The Starving Saints, because I feel like Caitlin Starling, I feel like her books always make it. Actually, let me see what The Starving Saints has, because maybe that one has a low rating and then we can eliminate it. Oh shoot, okay, this one has a 3.65 and it has 8,000 ratings. So shoot, oh my god, I feel like this one's definitely gonna make it then. Oh my god, okay, that has to be in there. Oh my gosh, wow, this is actually so tough. Okay, let me just check The Staircase in the Woods to see how many people have read this one so far, because I feel like, oh wow, okay, so The Staircase in the Woods has a 3.59, but it has 14,000 ratings, so I feel like that's more than some of these other ones. So I think it'll definitely be on here. Wow, The Unworthy has 36,000 ratings. Okay, I feel like The Unworthy is definitely gonna be on here, like no question. Oh my god, what else then? Now I'm guessing myself. I really, as much as I loved You Weren't Meant to Be Human, I don't think this one is going to make it onto the top 20. I don't think The Darcy Coates, I don't know, like how popular is this one? How Bad Things Can Get. Like I haven't really seen anybody talking about this one. I mean, this one has 3,000 ratings on Goodreads, but I think I feel comfortable deleting and like eliminating that one. I don't think it's gonna make it. I really do think it's gonna be between these two. Like I'm just gonna leave these up here as like these are possibilities of things that might make it onto this list, but these are gonna be my guesses for the top 20. I do feel confident that these are gonna be my top 20 picks right here. Oh my gosh, what if I'm right? I'm gonna have to like, actually when I do my reaction, I'm gonna have to like pull up this page to like see how right I am, but I do feel pretty confident. I feel like I at least got like 15 out of the 20 that are going to be nominated on this list, and I would not be surprised to see either one of these two make the list. But wow, so you'll have to let me know if this does end up being the top 20, which book do you think would be the winner and which one do you want to see win? Because I know sometimes they're different, right? Because I think if I had to make a prediction for what I think will actually win this category, it's probably going to be Stephen King, because Stephen King wins every single year without a doubt. But if I had to guess what's going to be like the runner-up or like the second closest thing, I think it's either going to be Grady Hendrix or maybe When the Wolf Comes Home. I could see either one of those, or maybe like, I don't know how popular The Devils is. Like if The Devils is really popular this year, maybe I could see that one being in the top, you know, the top 3. But But if I had to choose which book I want to win this year, I think it's either going to be When the Wolf Comes Home, I think has got to be like my top pick. But I also would love to see Bat Eater end up winning. I would love to see What Hunger end up winning. I feel like those would be some of my top picks on this list. So wow, that is the horror category. Now we will be moving on to the mystery thrillers. Alright, so for mystery thrillers, I'm kind of like jumping in blind because, you know, like I was mentioning, we had that list from Goodreads for the horror books that really helped me lock in at least 8 of those books, but for the thrillers, I'm kind of like, I don't really know. So I thought I would take a quick look at last year's category because I feel like we can learn a lot just from looking at this, because as you will see here, we have multiple Frida McFadden books getting nominated. So I feel like anything that she publishes in the year is most likely to get nominated. So I do think it's a safe bet to guess that anything she publishes is going to make it into the category. But you know what's really interesting about her having more than one book is that a lot of her fans tend to vote, like it splits the vote. So that usually it's like, because she's the most popular author on here, you would think that she would be like an easy pick to win, but because she's publishing more than one thing, so like the votes get split. So sometimes she actually doesn't win. And sometimes it actually goes in a direction like this, where like the votes get split 50-50 and then something else is gonna win. And I think last year, The God of the Woods winning this category was a big surprise. Like, I don't think anybody expected this book to win this category. So I'm really curious to see what ends up, you know, happening this year, because Frida McFadden definitely has 2 or if not 3 books that she published in the year of 2025. So those are definitely gonna be locked in answers for me. But as you can see here, we have a lot of books that are nominated from like book clubs. Like as you can see, First Lie Wins was a Reese Witherspoon book club pick. All the Colors of the Dark was a Read with Jenna book club pick. And then Listen for the Lie was a Good Morning America book club pick. So I feel like we can take note of those things to figure out what's going to be nominated this year and kind of like figure out which books of theirs were chosen as book club picks. We keep scrolling down. We have Lucy Foley on the list. We have Rachel Hawkins. We have Riley Sager's book actually did make it onto the list last year, even though I don't think he'll be eligible for this year. We have Sally Hepworth. We have Darling Girls. As you can see, that was the one that I wanted to win. I also wanted to take a look before we jump in to the guesses here. I want to see if Alice Feeney in the past has been nominated for Goodreads Choice Awards. Okay, yes. So as you can see, Daisy Darker did get the Goodreads Choice Awards nominee in 2022. So because of that, I feel more confident with putting Alice Feeney's new book in here. Let me just check that her new book actually has a high enough rating. Okay, yeah, Beautiful Ugly. Okay, yeah, Beautiful Ugly has a 3.6 average and it has 200,000 ratings. Jesus Christ. This book is definitely going to be in there. Okay, this book might win. Oh my god. All right, so starting with the thrillers, I loaded in all of the books that I think could be potential nominations over here on the side. So a few that I think are going to be locked in, guaranteed, that I want to start with right away is Frida McFadden, The Crash. I feel like this is the one that came out very early this year, I think in January. So I think this one's definitely going to be on this nomination list. Where's the other one? We have Frida McFadden, The Intruder. I think this one is the one that's coming out very soon. So maybe not, because I think The Tenant, this is the one that came out this summer, I think. So I think, oh my god, I don't know. I feel like these two are guaranteed locked in. I feel like this one is a maybe. I'll have to double check when this one comes out, but I think this one might get nominated too. Another one that I want to lock in is the Alice Feeney, because we just saw, holy shit, that book has a lot of people reading it. So I think this one's a guaranteed gonna make it onto this list. I also think, speaking of like the book club thing, is that Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson was a Good Morning America book club pick this year, but it was also like one of the most talked about thrillers of the summer. Like nobody would shut up about this, and I think it's because it's the author Holly Jackson, who was very popular as a young adult author for the Dead Girl Murders Club books or whatever they were called. So I feel like because this was for her first adult thriller, like this one's been really popular. It's definitely going to make the list. I feel like another one that was really popular this year is The Missing Half by Ashley Flowers. I feel like this book was just everywhere, and I feel like this one's definitely going to make it into the top 20. What else? I feel like Sarah Pekkanen, almost all of her stuff always gets nominated, so I think she's a safe bet that she's going to be in here. As I mentioned before, Riley Sager, he probably would have made this list, but this book did not make the cut for ratings, so this one's going to be eliminated. I do think The Ghostwriter by Julie Clark was popular enough that I think it's definitely going to make it into the top 20. I think This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Winstead was definitely popular enough to make it into the top 20. Actually, let me double check the ratings on this one. because something's telling me maybe this book has very low average ratings and maybe it will be eliminated. Oh no, okay, so this one has a 3.6 average on Goodreads right now, but it also only has 21,000 ratings. So like maybe this one wouldn't be making the cut. I don't know. I'm gonna put this one to the side and have a think about it. But something else I think will make it for sure is probably the new Ruth Ware. Let me actually look up how many people are reading the new Ruth Ware. I mean, the only reason I think this one might not make it onto the list is because this one's actually a sequel. But yeah, goddamn, this book is averaging a 3.58 right now, which is pretty low, but it has 34,000 ratings and it's Ruth Ware. Like, I feel like Ruth Ware is gonna make it onto the list no matter what, right? Yeah, I think I'm gonna confidently lock this one in. Let's see. I think the new Megan Miranda will definitely be on here. I don't know if I have any interest in reading this book personally. Oh shoot. You know, this one actually has a 3.55 average and 19,000 ratings. So, I still think it will make the list, but that doesn't have as much of a readership as I thought it did. Oh my god, this is so tricky. Okay, you know who else is gonna make the list for sure? I think this one's gonna go over here. I'm gonna think about that more. But you know who's gonna make this list for sure is Lisa Jewell, the actual queen. Even though I did not really like this book, I think she is guaranteed, hands down, gonna be on this list. I also think Kate Alice Marshall is a locked-in, guaranteed author that's gonna be on here. Like, I would be shocked if these two are not on here. I think Count My Lies, because this one was another, like, Good Morning America book club pick. I feel like this one's gonna be popular enough to make the list. I also think Stacey Willingham is like a really popular thriller author. I feel like this one is definitely going to be on the list, even though I didn't care for this one myself. Oh my god, what else? I think Parents Weekend by Alex Finlay was very popular this year. I think this book had a huge readership. Let me check what the average rating is though, because I gave this one 1 star. I absolutely hated this one, but I think it's going to be popular enough to be on the list. Yeah, see, this one has a 3.53. It is just teetering the edge right there, but it has 24,000 ratings. So I feel like this one is most likely going to be on there. I mean, I personally hope it isn't, but like, I think it will be on there. And then same with like Alex North, like Man Made of Smoke. Like, how many people are reading this one? Okay, yeah, this one has a 3.76 and it has 22,000 ratings. So it's kind of sitting in that same range as Parents Weekend. I feel like if they are nominating books that have around like 20,000 ratings, I feel like these ones could be in there. Ooh, what about King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby? This is still one that I need to read, but I feel like S.A. Cosby's usually on this list. I feel like he makes the list every single time he publishes something. Okay, yeah, King of Ashes has a 4.07 and 34,000 ratings. So this one is definitely going to be on there, like for sure, locked in. This is where it starts to get tricky when we only have 5 spots left, because I feel like there's a lot of things that could make it. Like, I do think the Karen Slaughter, We Are All Guilty here. I feel like Karen Slaughter has enough of a readership that she's definitely going to make it onto this top 20. So I feel like that's a locked in answer. We have Too Old for This by Samantha Downing, which I hope makes it onto the list. Let me see what this book is averaging and how many people are reading it, because I feel like that's going to determine whether or not it makes it. Okay, so we have a 3.89 average, which is really good, but it only has 16,000 ratings. So this one might not be popular enough to make it into the top 20. I don't know. We also have The Dead Husband Cookbook, which this one also could get nominated in the horror category, but I will be shocked if it does, because this is definitely more of like a mystery kind of a story. Oh my gosh, Goodreads is going to nominate this in horror, isn't it? Well, this one only has 6,000 ratings, so like this one is not popular enough to make it into this. Ooh, we have The Night Watcher. Okay, never mind. I thought it was like really popular. It only has 6,000 ratings, so not popular enough. What about Party of Liars? I mean, I really loved Party of Liars, but I don't know if a lot of people love this one. It actually might have a really low average rating, and it might not be able to make it. Because I mean, I want Julie Chan to win this category, but Julie Chan's not even gonna make it in here. Okay, see, Party of Liars has a 3.95 average, which is great, and it qualifies it, but it only has 10,000 ratings. So I don't think this is popular enough. I don't think it's going to make it in here. I'm also not familiar with Lisa Scottoline, but I feel like this book is maybe popular enough. Oh, okay, never mind. It only has 8,000 ratings, so I don't think that one's going to be in there either. Oh my god, this is so tricky. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and guess that Cross My Heart is going to make it onto this list. I just want to double check to make sure that this book has a qualifying rating. Okay, it has a 3.57. We're pretty close, but it has 17,000 ratings. I feel like that's enough for it to make it onto this list. I mean, I personally really had a fun time with this one, so like I hope to see it on here. You know, one of the biggest questions I have on this list is the wasp trap, because this one is fairly new. So that's the only reason why I think it might not have enough of a readership yet, but I think this one could be a possibility for one of these final spots. I also think Reese Witherspoon just published a thriller book with Harlan Coben, and because Harlan Coben is almost always on these lists, like he's so popular, and I feel like because it's Reese Witherspoon, I feel like there's a good chance that this book is going to make it on the list, even if this book is like not even good. Like I have no idea if this book is even good or not. Oh, you know what? I feel like Famous Last Words is probably going to be on this list for sure, because this author is almost always on these lists, like almost all of the times. So I feel like she's a safe bet to be on here. And then I only have one spot left. Oh my god, there's this book by Liv Constantine. That could be an option here. There's also the new Sherry Lupina. Let me look up the new Sherry Lupina and see what kind of reviews it's getting. Oh man, so it does have a 3.96 and it has 46,000 ratings. Damn, okay, I feel like this one definitely has to be on there then. Oh man. I don't know if I have any interest in reading the new Sherry Lupina. I haven't even really looked into like what it's about, but I have read a lot from this author, so I might try to read that one. Oh my god, this is so tough, because I feel like any of these books on the side over here could make it onto this list, and like I just don't know. Okay, well I guess for now I'm going to lock in all of these books for my top 20, because I do think it's probably going to be these books. There actually might be some surprises, like there might be some of these books off to the side included on this list, but I do think for the most part, this is what it's going to be. Oh, I feel so nervous. Oh my god. As far as like what I think is actually going to win this category, I mean, like I was saying before, it could go in a direction where like Frida McFadden does end up winning this category, or if what happens last time when it split in between the two books, which I do think it could happen to these two books, then I think maybe the winner could be maybe Alice Feeney with Beautiful Ugly, maybe the Holly Jackson Not Quite Dead Yet, or maybe The Ghostwriter by Julie Clark. No, I don't think it'll go to Julie Clark. Maybe like Count My Lies. I feel like this one was really popular this year. I don't know. But I feel like it's probably going to be between Alice Feeney and Holly Jackson to win this one if it doesn't go to Frida McFadden. And then as far as which book I would like to see win this category, I mean, if I had my way, the winner would be Julie Chan is Dead. Like, that's definitely my favorite thriller that I've read so far this year, but because it's not even going to be nominated, that's kind of tough. Like, I don't know what else I would rather see win this category, because I was not the biggest fan of Beautiful Ugly or Not Quite Dead Yet, or the Lisa Jewell. I do think Lisa Jewell might be one of the front runners for like who could win it too, but I don't want any of these authors to win it. I kind of want maybe like Count My Lies or The Ghostwriter. Like I feel like these two would be my pick out of everything here, but I haven't read King of Ashes yet. I haven't read the new Sherry Lupina yet. I haven't read the new Karen Slaughter. Like I'm a little bit behind on some of these releases, but I don't know. I also really enjoyed Cross My Heart, so like I wouldn't be mad if that book won, even though I don't think it has like a shot at winning at all. But like, yeah, I think those are my final predictions for the thriller category. So let's move on to romance. All right, so jumping into the romance category, I thought we would quickly take a look at last year's romance category, because as you can see, Emily Henry is always the winner of the romance category, typically. But as you can see, Abby Jimenez is almost always like a close runner-up, so I feel like it's a safe bet to guess that these two authors are going to be nominated again this year. We also have Ali Hazelwood that got nominated with not only Bride, but she also got nominated for Not in Love last year, so I feel like it's safe to guess that anything Ali Hazelwood publishes is going to be nominated. There's also some like romance series here that I'm not super familiar with. I mean, up here we have the Leather and Lark, which is part of the Butcher and Blackbird series, and I think she did have another book come out this year. We have a few series here. These are authors that I'm less familiar with, and I haven't been keeping up with some of these if they have new releases or not. But Carly Fortune did have a new release this year. We also had Catherine Center, who had a new release this year. Kennedy Ryan. There was another book in the Swift and Saddled Cowboy series, and a few things here. So I feel like there's definitely a few things that we can take note of from last year's list that's going to help us make our predictions for this year. All right, so here's my romance board with all of my predictions loaded in. So like I was saying, we have a few that are going to be guaranteed nominations on this list, which includes the new Emily Henry, even though I do think this book reads a little bit more like fiction than it does like romance, but I definitely think it's still going to be in this category. We also have the Abby Jimenez, Say You'll Remember Me. I think this is definitely going to be on this list. We also have the new Catherine Center, which I think is a book that's definitely going to be locked in, definitely included on here. And then we have the new Ali Hazelwood books. So we have not only Problematic Summer Romance, which I think will for sure be on here, but then we also have Deep End, which I think is going to be another one. And Ali Hazelwood actually had a third book come out this year. That was her new book called Mate. And I think that one's either coming out in October or November. So like there is a chance that that book could also be included in this top 20. I don't know. I also think the new Kennedy Ryan is definitely a lock-in guaranteed one that's going to be nominated here. We have the new Carly Fortune, One Golden Summer. I love this book so much. I definitely think this one is going to make it into the top 20. Let's see, this is the cowboy book, Wild and Wrangled. This one's the one that came out this year. I think this is like the 4th book in the series. I think that one's definitely going to be there. And then this one is the 3rd book in the Butcher and Blackbird series. So I think that one's for sure going to be in there. We have this one that's the new Elsie Silver book. I'm not super familiar with Elsie Silver, but I feel like she's always nominated in this romance category. So I feel like that's a safe bet, locked in for sure. I think First Time Caller is definitely one that's going to get nominated because this was so popular earlier this year. I also would not be surprised if Caught Up ends up getting nominated because Lights Out was such a popular book and this one's the sequel. Even though I don't think the sequel is like nearly as good, I still think it's gonna make it onto this list. I think Left of Forever definitely has a good shot at making it onto the list because of how popular this book was. I mean, maybe I should double check the ratings on this to see if this one has as big of a readership as the first book did. Okay, this one has 20,000 ratings, so maybe this one wouldn't make it. Let me think about this more. Because I do think the Ashley Poston Sounds Like Love, I do think that this one's most likely going to make the list, even though I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I feel like Ashley Poston has a big enough readership that she's definitely going to be on here. I think Promise Me Sunshine. Okay, let me double check the ratings on this because I feel like this book was really popular this year. Okay, this one has 60,000 ratings. Okay, I think this is probably definitely going to make the list. Okay, we have Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams. I haven't read this book yet, but this one's been really popular, and I think Sarah Adams is an author that typically does make the list. See, the ones that I'm super curious about is if books like We Met Like This by Casey West or Overdue by Stephanie Perkins. I don't know if these ones are going to make the list or not because I don't know if these books specifically have been very popular, but like these authors are very popular, you know? And like the fact that both of these authors have previously written young adult books that were very popular and now they're writing these adult romance books, like I don't think either of these will actually make it into the top 20, but I wanted to like throw them around as like potential ideas that could be on this list, but I don't know if either of these two books are actually going to make it. I think People Watching is like a new romance that is pretty popular right now, but like, is it popular enough to make it? Let me see what it has. Yeah, see, this one only has 11,000 ratings, so like, I don't think this one's popular enough to make the list. What about this one, this new release too, If It Makes You Happy? Wow, this one already has 26,000 ratings, so like, there's a good chance this one could make the list. I'm gonna put it as like a possibility. I don't know. We also have the new release, The Honeycrisp Orchard Inn. I mean, I'm hoping this one doesn't get nominated because I personally hated it, but like it could, but I'm gonna delete it for now. We also have Fan Service, which is one that I personally loved, that I'm hoping it's nominated, but like I don't think it will. There's also Crash Test on here, which was personally one of my favorite romances of this year, and I would love to see this get nominated, but will it get nominated? Probably not. I mean, how many ratings does Crash Test even have? Yeah, see, it only has 2,000 ratings. Like, there's no way in hell Crash Test is getting nominated, which is such a shame because like as you can see on this list, there is a real lack of diversity. Usually with the Goodreads category, like it's actually ridiculous that there's not any queer romances that are getting nominated. I mean, there's also The Broposal that could be one that's like a queer romance that could get nominated, but this one doesn't have as big of a readership either. So I don't think there's a likely chance that it'll get nominated. There's Battle of the Bookstores, which is another cute like bookstore romance that came out earlier this year. Maybe it'll get nominated. I don't feel confident though in that one either. Oh, you know what? Maybe The Heartbreak Hotel. I feel more confident in this one getting picked because this was a Book of the Month pick. And I feel like because of that, it's probably a little bit more popular. So I feel like I'm going to lock in The Heartbreak Hotel. What else? I mean, Unromance, maybe. Because Unromance has been out pretty much all year because I think it came out in January. So let me see if it has a big readership. No, it only has 6,000 ratings. No, so I don't think The Unromance is going to be in there. Oh, we do have Swept Away by Beth O'Leary. I do think this is one that could actually make it, because Beth O'Leary is an author that's like really popular, and she usually does make these kind of lists. Let me just double check how popular this one is, because at the end of the day, Goodreads really is a popularity contest. You know what I mean? Like, that's what this award show is about, I think. Wow, so this one has 22,000 ratings, so it's not that popular, but I think it's more popular than some of these ones on the side. Okay, I do think Left of Forever, I do feel confident enough to put it in there. And let's double check about fan service. Like, how many ratings does fan service have? Oh my god, it only has 9,000. Fuck. Dude, I need more people to read fan service. This sucks. Oh man, I'm probably like missing something so big, by the way. Like, I'm probably missing something so obvious, but it's probably because I don't read those authors. Like, did Anna Huang come out with something this year? Like, I don't even know. Oh my god, We Met Like This only has 1,000 ratings. Like, that's like nothing. Okay, this one's definitely not getting nominated. Love you so much, Casey West, but you're out of here. Yeah, this one only has 1,000 ratings, but it's because the book just came out in October. Fuck. Oh my god. You know, I think I'm gonna put in fan service, not because I think it's actually gonna make it onto the list, but because it's like wishful thinking, you know? It's like wishful manifesting it to happen. I don't think it'll actually happen, but I want to see it in there, so I'm gonna put it in there. I mean, this is not my top 20, because in my perfect world, Crash Test would definitely be on here, but I don't think Crash Test is gonna make it on here. But yeah, I think this is what the top 20 is going to look like for the most part. I will say that I feel the least confident when it comes to this romance category. Like, I definitely felt more confident about like the horror and the thriller categories than I do with this one. But like, this is my prediction for the top 20. I think it'll be somewhat close to this. I feel like I got at least like 75% of this right, but I feel like I might be missing something here. But I think, what do I think is going to win the category? I think it's either going to be Emily Henry, Abby Jimenez, or maybe Ali Hazelwood will take it. I don't know. I mean, there's a good chance that Ali Hazelwood's book Mate could also be on this list. That could be something that I'm missing from here. But what do I want to win? I mean, me personally, I would have loved to see One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune win, because I loved this book so much more than I thought I would. I would have also loved to see fan service win, even though I know that would never happen in a million years. Yeah, it just kind of sucks, because like romance was a bit of a flop for me this year, and I didn't even like the new Abby Jimenez or Emily Henry, which has never happened to me before, so like that definitely sucks. I'm not as thrilled with this romance category as I would have been in the past, so that's unfortunate. But anyways, that's my confirmed top 20 picks. Let's move on to fiction. Alright, so out of these 4 different genres, fiction is definitely the one that I'm least confident in out of all of these, because I've read the least amount of fiction compared to the rest of these genres throughout the year, but I do think that I've read enough fiction and I know enough about what's been popular this year that I feel like I can make some accurate predictions here. I mean, just looking at last year's list, you know, The Wedding People winning this category, I think, was a complete surprise. I don't think anybody was expecting The Wedding People to win, but I was so happy about The Wedding People winning because I absolutely loved this book. And I feel like there was a lot of books in here that I definitely would have predicted making the list. Like, obviously, the new Sally Rooney is going to make the list. Obviously, you know, Blue Sisters by Coco Mellors was, like, definitely my favorite book that I read last year. But I feel like there's a lot of things in this list that are pretty, like, obvious, at least if you're paying attention to like what's popular in fiction at the moment. I feel like these would have been some books that I was guessing. You know, I mean, there's obviously a few in here that like I have no idea what they even are. So like I'm a little bit less confident in being able to like accurately predict all of them, but I thought, you know, I could make some accurate predictions for what's going to be in fiction this year. Alright, so looking at my list for fiction, there are a few books that I am like, these are so guaranteed that they're going to be listed in the fiction category this year. Like starting off with, you know, Taylor Jenkins Reid has a new book this year, Atmosphere. It is so freaking popular. Everybody and their mom loves this book. I think this is definitely going to be nominated in this category. Same with The Favorites by Lane Fargo. I feel like this book has just been absolutely everywhere this year, and I think this one's going to be a top contender. I feel like it's going to be between these two for who's going to win this category, to be honest. Let's see what else. I feel like The Bright Years was a really popular fiction book, and I'm kind of torn on whether this one is gonna be nominated in fiction. Like, there's a good chance that this one could be nominated in historical fiction, which definitely could happen. So, like, I don't know for sure if this one will be here, but I do think this one will be nominated this year. I think Deep Cuts is definitely going to be nominated in the fiction category, and this is definitely one of my favorite books that I've read this year, so like I really hope that it ends up in this category. I think another one that's for sure going to be here is the new Frederick Bachman, My Friends. I feel like this one's also going to be like a top runner for like who's going to win this category. I can totally see Frederick Bachman winning this category. I think These Summer Storms, because it was a book of the month pick, and I also think it was a book club it was one of the celebrity book club picks this summer. I can't remember whose, but like I think this is definitely one of the more popular ones of this year. I also think Wild Dark Shore is definitely going to be in the fiction category. I actually checked because I wasn't sure if this author's other books, like I looked up Once There Were Wolves, which is my favorite from this author, and that one was nominated in the fiction category as opposed to the thriller category. I thought maybe it could end up there, but I do think it's going to end up here. I think this one by Ocean Vuong, I haven't read it yet, but this one was an Oprah's book club pick, and also this author is really popular, and I feel like he's always ending up on these lists at the end of the year, so I think this is a safe bet. I also think Jojo Moyes, I have not read this book myself, but Jojo Moyes had a new fiction book this year. This is a very, very popular author, so I definitely think this one's gonna be here. I also think this one, To the Moon and Back, this was a Reese's book club pick. Good chance that this one's gonna be here too. Another one of Reese's book club picks that came out this year, this one, Isola. I feel like this one could be here, but there's also a good chance that this one could be in the historical fiction as well. This one, Heartwood, is a book that I don't know anything about this. Like, I actually don't really know genre-wise if this would even fit into fiction, but I've been seeing this book around everywhere this year, and it was a Read with Jenna book club pick, so I feel like this one has a good chance that it'll make it onto this list. Same with Dream Count by Adichie. I feel like this one's been really popular this year too. I think this one's gonna make the fiction category. What else do we have? We have this one, The River Has Roots. I feel like I could see this one making the list, but also I don't know if this one's going to be in something like historical fiction as well, but I think this one has a good chance at making it. Oh my gosh, okay, The Compound. This is one that I'm so curious which genre category it's going to end up in, because I think it fits best into fiction, and I think no matter what, this book is going to be nominated this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if this one gets nominated in like the mystery thriller category for some reason. I feel like it could go there, but like, I'm going to put it here. It might even get nominated in like sci-fi maybe. I don't know what they're going to do with The Compound, but I think it's definitely going to be nominated this year. I just don't know where. We also have We Could Be Rats, which is something that very well could be nominated in this category. I feel like Emily Austen is popular enough that I could see this book being in here. We also have Sky Daddy, which like, do I really think it's going to be nominated? I don't know. I don't know for sure, but I definitely want to put it in here because I loved Sky Daddy this year, and I think this is one that could possibly get nominated. See, this is another one, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. I think this book is definitely going to get nominated somewhere. I just don't know where. Like, there's a good chance that this one could get nominated in the horror category, maybe in the fantasy category, but I'm just going to put it in fiction because I want to say that I predicted that it would get nominated. I just don't know where it's going to get nominated because I don't know what genre I would personally fit that into. So yeah, I think that's going to be there. Oh my gosh, how could I forget, dude? Broken Country. This was a Reese Witherspoon book club pick, and this was definitely one of the more popular fiction books of this year. But I also think, God, there's a chance this one also could get nominated in historical fiction. So like, I don't know if it'll be here in fiction, but I hope it will be because I loved this book so much and I want to see it get nominated. Oh my gosh, okay, we only have like one spot left. So what am I thinking for this final spot? I mean, I did end up putting the new Nicholas Sparks and M. Night Shyamalan on here. They have this new book called Remain, but like, do I think this one's gonna make it onto this list and in the fiction category? Like, I don't know. We also have Cursed Daughters, which this one just recently came out, or it's coming out soon, but it's a new fiction book that's from the same author as My Sister the Serial Killer, and that was a really popular book, so I feel like maybe there's a good chance this one could get nominated. I don't know. I feel like these are my final two guesses because I'm not that well versed in the fiction category, so I think I'm gonna put this one here as my final guess. And yeah, that's kind of what my fiction category is looking like. But again, you know, I'm the least confident in this one compared to the other genres because I don't read as much fiction, but I have read a good chunk of these ones this year. And for what I think is actually going to win this category, I think it's going to be without a doubt Taylor Jenkins Reid. I think Atmosphere at least if it gets nominated in fiction as opposed to historical fiction, because, you know, maybe there is a chance that this one gets put in historical, but if it is in fiction, I think it'll win fiction. And if not, it might be The Favorites by Lane Fargo. I think this one might win. I feel like there's a good chance maybe Deep Cuts or Broken Country. I feel like those have a good shot at winning. I personally would love to see Wild Dark Shore win this category, even though I don't think it will, but I would love to see Wild Dark Shore win. I also really enjoyed The Bright Years and Deep Cuts. Like, I feel like Deep Cuts would be amazing. I'd love to see Broken Country win. I've read some really great fiction this year. So that's what I think about this category. These are my locked in top 20 predictions. And then if I scroll down, these are a few books that I think will make the sci-fi nominations this year. I didn't want to guess a full top 20 because, you know, like I said, I'm not as well versed in sci-fi and I don't read a ton of it, but I feel like I've read enough sci-fi this year that I feel like I can accurately predict that at the very least, I think these 6 are going to make it into the nominations this year. I actually haven't finished reading Dissolution yet. I'm still like about 100 pages into this one, and then I have not yet read Death of the Author, but I know this has been a really popular sci-fi book this year. And I mean, out of all of these picks, my favorite by far has been The Merge. Like, The Merge is like one of my favorite books of all time, and that would definitely be my vote if it does get nominated in the sci-fi category, and I hope that it does. But like, what do I think is actually gonna win the sci-fi category? Like, I don't know. I don't think I could even tell you that because like, since these might get nominated, these might not, but I don't really know what's popular in sci-fi right now. I feel like it's really like the Goodreads Choice Awards that I look to like see what's popular. So it could be any of these, but yeah, those are my predictions for what I think could be nominated in the sci-fi genre. And I'll just scroll back so you can get one last look at the fiction, what I think, romance, what I think could get nominated, thrillers, which honestly, the thrillers was probably the hardest category out of all of these, and then horror. You know, I feel the most confident about the horror. Like, I feel like I really nailed it with this. All right, so that is a wrap on this video. I'm so excited for the Goodreads Choice Awards. The nominations are going to be getting announced in early November, and I do plan to do a video on my main channel, you know, like reacting to the Goodreads Choice Awards, and so I will be able to see based off of my predictions, like how many I ended up getting right. So definitely tune into that video so we can like figure things out together and see how many I got right. But thank you so much for watching. You'll have to let me know if you enjoyed this style of video. Like, is this something you'd want to see me try and do next year, like predicting the Choice Awards, or is this not something you care as much about? I mean, I know that the Goodreads Choice Awards is basically a popularity contest. Like, I'm totally aware of that, but I do love trying to guess what's going to be in there. Like, I had a lot of fun doing this, and I feel like it's going to make it even more fun for me to react to the Goodreads Choice Awards to see if I'm right. You know, like, I'm just so curious to see how many of these I actually got right. And I'm so curious to see if there's anything that's going to be really surprising that I didn't predict. So I feel like it's going to add an extra layer to my reaction and getting to see what actually gets nominated. But you'll have to let me know if you enjoyed this style of video. And also, like, if there's any predictions that you have that are different from mine, definitely let me know, because I feel like there's a lot of things that I probably completely like missed. Let me know if you'd like to see me do this again next year. And thank you so much for watching, besties. I appreciate you so much. And I will see you very soon with another video. Bye.